Okay, we're going to have a look at making a fly lead for this on-off switch, and this is going to go on a motion alarm circuit, and as I just said, we're going to use this fly lead to touch it. So the first thing we're going to do is the lead has been twisted just to keep it neat, and we've got two colours here. We don't strictly need two colours, but we've got two colours. We're going to unravel a little bit at one end, and the tools we're going to be using are the strippers, the side cutters, obviously the soldering iron here, and we've got some heat shrink as well. So the first thing we do with the wire strippers, we're just going to take off about 1 centimetre of the insulation. Now if you just hold that and just pull away, not pinching too hard, and then almost immediately we want to twist those wires up to get a nice, you can see that, a nice twisty finish there, so that when we put them through the little holes, they've got to go through these 1mm holes in the circuit board, and if we're putting them through the 1mm holes, we've got to make sure that it's twisted up nicely so that it can fit through the hole. So I'm going to do this other end and just grip it slightly and pull away, and then twist it out before it gets messy. So we've done that end. Now this end is the end we're going to put on the switch, so we're going to just unravel a bit more here, and you can always, it's always quite easy to unravel it. You can always unravel more than you need and then twist it back up again to make it neat. So again, straight away twisted those off. Again, grip that, pull away. Now it didn't quite do it there. Now it's better to do that than to, and not take off enough, than to chop through the whole wire. Now normally these things are adjusted, but so the wire can vary, so there's just an element of being a bit careful with it. Now we've got that, and we've got our soldering iron, and with these I'm going to tin them. So we've already got some, we've cleaned our soldering iron, we've tinned the tip of it, and we can see the tip's nice and shiny, got solder on it. So it's quite easy to just touch that. A nice amount of solder on there, and on there. And you can see this is what these should look like. So they're twisted up and they've got a nice coating of solder on them. The next thing is I'm going to select a couple of pieces of heat shrink. I'm going to put them on here. Now we need to move these away from where we're working, because if we don't move them away, the wire of course is copper, and if we don't move them away, when we try and solder, we're going to end up shrinking before we need to. Now one of the ways of doing this is to just bend a little hook into the end of our piece of, and hook it through, and that just stops it moving about. And I think I showed you before, if we use a set of clippers just to stop the wire moving around, touch it on the tag, just like soldering a PCB, touch the wire onto the tag and add the solder to it. So there's our orange wire onto there, and again I'm going to just, you can bend a little hook or bend a little right angle and pop that into there. Again, touch the soldering iron onto the tag of the switch. Now these switches are Bakelite, so they shouldn't melt, but if you keep the soldering iron on for 10 minutes, it will damage the components inside. Okay, now once that's cooled, I could just get, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a little bit I'm going to clip off, and then take a heat shrink, make sure that's cooled down. It should cool fairly quickly because they're all copper components, and then I've pushed the heat shrink right over so there's no chance for short circuit. Now we would be better to use a hot blow gun on this, or hot air gun, but I'm just going to use a soldering iron because we actually don't need it to be too, it's not really going to go anywhere. You can see that heat shrink shrinking down, and what that's done now, that's shrunk down onto the tag there and is holding the wire on. So not only is it giving us a nice insulation right along, but it's also actually adding to holding the wire on, making it much less likely to fray or break or come off. So now we've got our switch fitted onto the wire, and we just need to fit it onto the circuit board. Now if we look at the circuit board is clearly marked SW, which is the convention for switch, and what we've got to do is we're going to need to unravel again this a bit more, and we're going to lace this through like we did with our battery holder. So with our battery snap, and we started on this side, so we start on the component side, push it through quite a good way, pull it back up again, and remember the switch has no polarity, so it's not a problem which colours will go where. And then this is a tricky bit, get a twisted up wire, and you might need to really make sure that the tip of the wire is twisted up. You can tin this, but if you tin it first, if you do it right it goes through, but if you put too much solder on it makes it worse. You can see there, even there I've got one. Really nice and twisted up. Fit that through. Bend it over just a couple of degrees. I'll put that down. I'll use my side cutters there. Stop it moving around. Clean the soldering iron, just tin the soldering iron there. Hold it onto the track. Being careful to not nick the insulation there. Hold it onto the track, touch a bit of solder to it. Let it cool. You're going to very carefully get that off. Then all we've got here is we've got this, so we have to push this through, pull it through from here. And this wire's not quite as flexible as it's meant to. There we go. And there we can see we've got our connection there, our wire lays through. So now it's just a case of starting on the outside again, from the component side, through, here, up through there, get it up as close as you can there. Holding the soldering iron onto the board, onto the track. I just need a little bit of solder onto the soldering iron. Holding it onto the track there, and you can see that I added the solder to it. It's a nice solder joint there, you can see that. And then pulling this through. Pin that through, and that's if you really want to be neat. So there we've got PCB with our fly lead, on-off switch, and our heat shrink. Okay, so that's adding just a simple on-off switch to our circuit.